Since he first leaped onto screens in Ice Age, Scrat has become a fan-favorite character, with incredible universal appeal. Unsurprisingly, Blue Sky Studios felt he was the perfect vehicle for short films, the first few of which allowed the creative talent there to flex their muscles and prove their directing prowess. The first short to star Scrat was Gone Nutty, which has the saber-toothed squirrel in the midst of several acorns. It was directed by Carlos Sardana, who joined Blue Sky in the 90s when they worked on commercials and special effects. Sardana had already served as a co-director on Ice Age, and so was already familiar with that world and what made Scrat so funny. It continues his journey from the movie as he looks for a place to put his acorn and save it for later. He encounters a tree filled with them, and that's when the chaos ensues. Part of the humor of this character is seeing how everything goes wrong for him and his desperate attempt to try and eat the acorn by any means necessary. There are several great visual gags throughout Gone Nutty that take full advantage of what a truly animated character Scrat is. One of the main inspirations for Scrat was the character the Thief, from Richard Williams' The Thief and the Cobbler, and you definitely see that in this short with the way he seeks to get a hold of all these acorns. A high point of Gone Nutty is a scene set to Tchaikovsky's Sleeping Beauty Waltz. It's a delightful combination of music with the images that also highlights one of Sardana's strengths as a director, as he understands how to use music to enhance the sequence. One of my favorite scenes in Ice Age The Meltdown is when a group of vultures sing the song Food Glorious Food from the musical Oliver. And need I mention all the wonderfully energetic and delightful musical numbers from the Rio movies? Carlos Sardana has an adaptation of Harold and the Purple Crayon, currently scheduled for next year, and I have a feeling they'll also beautifully meld music with images. Gone Nutty was first seen by audiences on the Ice Age DVD, and was later nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Short. Continuing that tradition, the home release of Ice Age The Meltdown also included a new Scrat short. Titled No Time for Nuts, it was directed by Chris Renald and Mike Thermia. Renald was a story artist at Blue Sky, and then after leaving the studio, he went over to the then newly formed Illumination to direct Despicable Me. His success on that film, including helping come up with the Minions, led to him becoming the principal director at that studio. Mike Thermia was a lead and supervising animator on Blue Sky's movies, and then after this short, directed the 4th and 5th Ice Age movies. They certainly brought their skills to this short, which has Scrat come across a time machine, which zaps him across multiple time periods. This allowed for gags beyond just mishaps with the acorn, though the acorn does of course figure prominently in the short. It's fun seeing Scrat wind up in these different places, and there's even a cute gag where he travels back to the first movie, which is notably the only glimpse we've gotten of that human baby since 2002. Seeing the jump in animation quality, with the directors using even more of the camera capabilities, also shows how impressively CGI continued to evolve during the 2000s and at Blue Sky. Like its predecessor, No Time for Nuts was also nominated for an Oscar, and it would win the Annie Award for Best Animated Short Subject. In 2015, a special extended version of the short in 4D was made and screened at various locations. This included the San Diego Zoo, the Detroit Zoo, the Central Park Zoo, and even Madame Tussauds in Shanghai and Bangkok. This version added a few new time periods, including a stop in dinosaur times to connect to Dawn of the Dinosaurs. Scrat also winds up in an ancient history museum where he comes across his own skeleton and fake versions of Manny, Sid, and Diego. The trio get a lot of screen time, with Ray Romano, John Leguizamo, and Dennis Leary reprising their roles, and it's fun to see them interact with Scrat, something they did not do that much during the movies. Whether you watch the original version of No Time for Nuts or this extended cut, there are plenty of solid laughs to be had. To promote the later Ice Age sequels, 20th Century Fox and Blue Sky took a few of Scrat scenes from those movies and turned them into shorts, served as teasers for the upcoming releases. This was hardly anything new, as the first Ice Age movie used the opening sequence as its teaser, and that decision played a pivotal role in the film becoming so successful. It made sense to reuse that strategy for Continental Drift and Collision Course. Scrat's Continental Crack-Up introduced what would become a major threat in Continental Drift, and Continental Crack-Up Part 2 introduced the main villains. Meanwhile, Cosmic Scrat-tasprophe has Scrat heading to outer space. These really highlight that Scrat was pretty much the main reason to see the last few Ice Age movies, although I think calling them shorts is a bit of a reach, as they're more like promotional pieces. Something that was slightly different in the Continental Crack-Up shorts was the music, as composer John Powell had yet to complete his score for the then upcoming sequel. So he borrowed pieces from movies like Welcome to Mooseport, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and Alien 3. That's probably the only time you'll ever hear Welcome to Mooseport and Mask of the Phantasm mentioned in the same sentence. After the release of Ice Age Collision Course, it was fairly quiet on the Ice Age front for a while. That was until the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild premiered on Disney+. The main thing that leaked out of people, aside from the fact that Blue Sky did not work on the movie, was that Scrat was not in it. This fueled rumors that Disney no longer held the rights to the character, something claimed by a frequent Howard Stern Show guest who kept pestering Fox and Blue Sky for years, saying they stole the idea of Scrat from her. However, very soon afterwards, the Scrat Tales shorts were announced, revealing that Disney did still own Scrat. Both Scrat Tales and Buck Wild would be made at the same time, so the decision to exclude Scrat from the latter had nothing to do with the nonsense that person kept peddling. The Scrat Tales shorts were almost finished when Disney told Blue Sky they were being shut down, something I still maintain is one of the worst decisions ever made in the entire history of the Walt Disney Company. There were a few little things that needed to be done before they were complete, but some of the Blue Sky artists came together to give their studio the send-off they felt it deserved. Donnie Long, who was a story artist at Blue Sky, was the principal director of Scrat Tales, and along with his team, created a funny collection of shorts. In them, Scrat comes across a baby squirrel, also takes a fancy to the acorns, which leads to a frequent tug-of-war between the two. The dynamic between them is hilarious, and they don't skimp on the Looney Tunes-inspired cartoon violence either. You think they'll go the sentimental route with these two, and then nope, it's back to fighting over the acorn and Scrat being pulverized in inventive ways. The short that stood out to me the most is Nutty Reflections, which is Scrat and the baby's reflections also getting in on the action, and the artists do so many clever things with that concept. A few shorts also include a bit of neat hand-drawn animation, courtesy of B.J. Crawford, who was also responsible for the hand-drawn bits in the Peanuts movie. Scrat Tales was a great way to say goodbye to Scrat, but it was not the actual end of the story. A short video was quietly uploaded on YouTube that showed Scrat finally eating the acorn. This was created by a small team of animators at Blue Sky to serve as their official farewell to the studio. It was wonderful to see Scrat finally attain his goal before hopping off camera, and was a touching tribute to the character who helped lead to many imaginative films from Blue Sky. I've been a fan of the studio ever since I first saw Ice Age in theaters and laughed at the antics of the squirrel and the other prehistoric animals. Their movies have meant so much to me, and while Nimona may not have been completed by the studio, I do consider it officially the last Blue Sky production. I think Scrat has absolutely earned his place as one of the great animation icons. An optimistic spirit went through so much all in pursuit of an acorn. Whether it was popping up at the right moments during the Ice Age movies, getting to shine in one of its own shorts, or even a quick appearance in a Family Guy cutaway gag, Scrat was always there to make us smile. I can see Disney doing something with Scrat in the future, but if not, thank you for entertaining us for over 20 years, Scrat. I'm gonna miss you, buddy.